Hey guys, Miss Chasey again. Today we will be reviewing Bots and Whiskers plot. So let's jump right in with our standard. 7.SP.2 says using data to draw inferences about a population. Our focus from this standard is going to be on Bots and Whisker plot. Okay, if you'll think back whenever we went over data and statistics and populations, we went over the Bots and Whisker plot. We also went over a scatter plot. We went over pie chart, just organizing data. So we used many examples. If we took athletes from our school, or if we took boys or girls or band members, we organized the data, and it just gives us a pretty picture or a chart to be able to look at the data as a picture instead of numbers. So we're going to focus, like I said, on Bots and Whisker plot. That's page 105 and 107 in your Bailey Ed packet, okay? But first, let's do another quick review just to make sure that we have the basics down, okay? Number one says median. Well, median, middle, right? Remember the median in the road, it's in the middle. It splits the data into two halves, just like it splits the road into two halves. Our second thing on our review is median of the lower half. Now this may not come as easy, but it will once we get over into our example problem, you'll remember, okay? But our lower half is also, or our median of our lower half is also known as the lower quartile, which is labeled Q1. Number three says median of the upper half, okay? So that's just the other side of your data of the median, and it's called the upper quartile, or Q3. Then we have number four says minimal, which is our lowest number, maximal, our largest number, and then number six says range, distance between two numbers. Remember when we talked about range and we would say the distance between one point of the room with the student and another point of the room with the student, where we would just take wherever you're at and subtract. That gives us the range, okay? This is our quick review. We'll reference it back in a minute. The next thing that I want us to do is go into the steps of actually drawing a Bots and Whisker plot. Okay, so creating a box plot, okay? As you can see, I've written out the 5 steps to create a box plot. It looks like a lot of writing, a lot of words, but it is really simple, I promise. I wanted to put all the words on here for you instead of shorting them down. That way that you could see it and you wouldn't have a question about what my short little bitty words would have meant. This way you will have the big ones, and then when we work the example problem out in a minute, you'll be able to see how quick and easy it really is, okay? The first thing, or the first step to creating a box plot says arrange the data from least to greatest on the number line. So whenever we're gonna do a box plot, of course we'll have data from something, because that's what we're doing. We're taking numbers that have been collected from some kind of population, and we're gonna put them into a picture, okay? So we will have our data, so we just take the numbers and put them from least to greatest. And then we're gonna do that on a number line, okay? Number two, identify the minimum, maximum, median, lower half, and upper half. Again, I know that sounds like we're doing a lot, but it is just simply picking the number out and writing the word minimum, maximum, median, lower half, and upper half, okay? Number three says identify the lower quartile. Find the median of the lower half. So as we talked about in our quick review, the lower quartile, the median of the lower quartile is called Q1, okay? The middle of the lower half of our data is Q1. Number four, identify the upper quartile, or find the median of the upper half. Okay, so that just means once we find our median of all of our data, the lower one, we're going to take that half and find the middle. And then for the upper quartile, we're going to take that data and find the middle. Okay, really simple. Number 5 says mark these values on a number line and draw the boxes. So at this point, we've already identified all of our data numbers and our data points, and we're just simply drawing a box. It's going to be very simple. There's one thing that I wrote down here in red. It is not a step to creating the plot, but it is very important to know when you're reading the plot to be able to understand what the data means and what each section means. Okay, it says remember that each quartile represents 25% of the data. Now, I have a rectangle or a box around core, Q-U-A-R. So y'all know how I like for you to relate things to things that you already know. So when I say core, what do you think I think of? Of course, quarter, that's right. And we know that a quarter is 25, or it is also a fourth, right, of a dollar. So quarter or core is 1/4. So that's exactly how it works on the box and whisker plot. It is 1/4, each quartile is 1/4 of our data, or 25% of our data, okay? And this will make sense again when we get into our example problem. Okay, so I have us a sample problem written out. It says data was collected from 10 teenagers regarding the hours spent in 1 week playing video games. The data reported was, and it gives you the list of numbers. These numbers are the amount of hours spent, okay, even though it is not labeled hours. So we got 21, 5, 17, 11, 8, 16, 15, 14, 6, and 14. Okay, now those numbers are in no particular order. That's just how they were collected from the people. The point of the box and whisker plot is to put these numbers in a nice picture that represents them. With these numbers every way and not in any particular order, it's hard to get an idea of what the data is actually saying, okay? So that's why we're going to put it in a box and whisker plot. To begin the problem, arrange the data from least to greatest, okay? So that's simple, right? We've been doing that for years. So I'm gonna look at my lowest number and it's a 5. My next number is a 6, 8, 11, 14, another 14, which is, it doesn't matter, it's okay. It doesn't matter if you have the same number 100 times, it's okay. 15, 16, 17, and 21. Okay, so now just doing that has made the numbers look much better to me. Now, right off the bat, I can see that the teenager that spent the least amount of hours playing video games was 5, and the greatest amount of hours was 21, okay? Which, if you think back, you heard some key words, the least amount of hours and the greatest amount of hours. Least and greatest, that sounds like something that we talked about a while ago in our steps, which was, or our quick review, either one, which was our minimum and our maximum, okay? So let's go ahead and identify all those words in step 2, or those data points. We had a minimum, which was our least amount. Okay, we had a maximum, which of course is our greatest amount. And we had to find our median, which in our quick review was our middle. So this is how I like to do it. Put my fingers, and I move my fingers from each end of the data. So our middle is right here, okay, which is obviously 14, okay, because we didn't have a middle. So you take those two numbers, add them together, divide by 2, which is our mean, so it's 14. Okay, so now we have our minimum, which is our least, our maximum, which is our greatest. We have our median, which is our middle. This makes it very easy for us to identify the next two things, which was our lower half and our upper half. You see how our data is split straight down the middle for our median. Everything to the left of the median, of course, is our lower half of our data. Everything to the right is our upper half of the data. This right here makes it very easy for me to find the middle of my lower half of my data. Because I know this is my lower half. I start with my two numbers on the end, move, and there he is. My 8 is the median, or middle, of the lower quartile, okay? Which we said in the quick review was also known as Q1. Now we just move to the other half of our data, which is our upper quartile, and we find the median. So again, there he is right in the middle, our median. And the median of the upper quartile, as we went over in the quick review, is Q3. So now we're ready for our final step, which is just taking what we've already got right here and making it into a pretty box. We've already did all the problem, all the work, okay? Now we're simply putting it into a picture that's easy to read. So, I went ahead and drew my number line, and now I'm just gonna label it. Now, it doesn't matter how you label your number line, really, okay? Of course, it needs to be in equal increments, but it doesn't necessarily have to start at your minimum or end at your maximum, but I like it that way, so when I have the chance to draw my own, that's the way I draw mine. So I'm gonna start with my number line at 5. And I'm just gonna go in increments of 2 instead of 1. I should have spaced them out just a little bit more to give us more space to work in, but we'll try this, okay? So now our minimum is 5, so we already did that work. So we're just gonna put a line at 5, okay? And we know that's our minimum. So I'm not gonna write it on here because normally you don't, okay? It's understood. We can look up here if we forget what that line represents, okay? Our maximum, I like to go to the other end, is 21. Okay, so now we got our minimum and our maximum. And then our median is 14, okay? Our other data mark that we need to put on our box and whisker plot would be Q1. We see that it is 8. And the last thing that we need to put is our Q3, which is our median of our upper quartile, which is 16. Okay, my box is going to be crooked, I can see already. You take the 3 numbers in the middle, or the 3 lines in the middle, and that becomes your box. And then you just connect your box to your outer lines, and that becomes your whiskers. So, let's look at this. If you were doing this research, okay, your teacher had you to go out and research 10 students or 10 of your friends for the hours they spend in 1 week playing video games, and this is what you recorded as your data. Which one looks better to read to your eyes? These numbers just written down in any random order, or this box and whisker plot? Right here, let's practice reading the plot. So what we know is we're not looking up here anymore. We're going to pretend that's not there. And let's just read the plot itself. This line represents the minimum, so right off, I see this picture and I know, well, the least amount of hours that was spent was 5. I know that the greatest amount of hours spent was 21, okay? I know that the median of my data looks to be about 14, okay? And then I know that the median of my lower half of the people that play video games that I surveyed is 8, and the median of the upper half looks to be 17. That's a little far over. Let's move our 17 where it looks a little more accurate on 16. I drew that line a little far over, but it's 16, okay? And then another thing that I want you to remember that I had put in red, was that from here to here is 25% of your data. From here to here is 25%. Remember, I reviewed the word quartile with quarter, which is 25 cents, 25%. So that is very important for you to know when you're reading a box and whisker plot, to know that this is a quarter of your data, that's a quarter, and a quarter. A lot of times, students, teachers, people do not see this easily because you can see how much larger this space is than this space. Well, we're not saying that it's 25% of the same amount. It's 25% of your data is found here, okay? So that's why there's a discrepancy in size. And also, which we won't get into this on this problem, but when you read this, when you have your center box and your median is not in the middle of that box, then you say that your data is skewed. So if it's larger on the left, which ours is, that means it's skewed left. If it's larger on the right, it's referred to as being skewed right, okay? So we have finished the problem that I made up. There are 2 problems, if you'll remember from the beginning of the video in your Bailey Ed packet. You do not have to draw a box and whisker plot. On those 2 problems, you're given the box and whisker plot, but I felt that if you needed a quick review on how to draw it so that you could understand and remember what each point in the box and whisker plot meant, okay? Good luck with those 2 problems, and I'll see you next time.